Hi everybody, hope you're doing really well. In this video we're going to take a look at Christopher Columbus's journal. There are going to be abstracts from his journal from about the 3rd of August 1492, right about when they first discover land, all the way until October of that year. So, lot to cover, let's get started. This document is from the Journal of Columbus in his voyage of 1492. The meaning of this voyage is highly contested. On the one hand, its willingness to the tremendous vitality and verve of late medieval and early modern Europe, which was on the verge of acquiring control over the whole world. On the other hand, the direct result of this and later voyages was the virtual extermination by ill treatment and disease of the vast majority of the native inhabitants, and the enormous growth of the transatlantic slave trade. It might not be fair to lay the blame at Columbus's feet, but since all sides treat him as a symbol, such questions cannot be avoided. That's from Medieval Sourcebook. And here's the actual document. Whereas most Christian, high, excellent, and powerful princes, the King and Queen of Spain, and the islands of the sea are sovereigns this present year 1492, after your highnesses had ended their war with the Moors, remember that means the Muslims of Spain, the same year having been brought to an end in the great city of Granada, where on the 2nd day of January this year I saw the royal banners of your highnesses planted by force of arms upon the towers of the Alhambra. The Alhambra was the royal palace in Muslim Granada. And saw the Moorish king come out at the gate of the city and kiss the hands of your highnesses, and of the prince, my sovereign. And in this month, in consequence of the information that I had given your highnesses respecting India, and a prince called the Great Khan, which in our language signifies King of Kings, etc., etc., a whole bunch of stuff that's not directly pertaining to the voyage. We'll skip a bit down here. About 7 sentences before the end of the document on this page, it says, "Hereupon I left the city of Granada on Saturday the 12th of May, 1492, and proceeded to Palos, the seaport, where I armed 3 vessels," and now we know that, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, "very fit for such an enterprise, having provided myself with an abundance of stores," meaning like supplies, "and sailors. I set sail from the port on Friday the 3rd of August, half an hour before sunrise, and steered for the Canary Islands of your highnesses, which are in the said ocean, the Atlantic, to take my departure and proceed until I arrived at the Indies." So clearly he thinks he's going to Indonesia and China. "To perform the embassy of your highnesses to the princes there, and discharge the orders that you have given me. For this purpose, I am determined to keep an account of the voyage, and write down punctually everything we see day to day. Moreover, sovereign princes, besides being every night the occurrences of the day, and every day writing down those of the preceding night, I intend to draw up a nautical chart, which will contain several parts of the ocean and the land in the proper situations, and also compose a book to represent the whole picture, with latitudes and longitudes, etc. Friday, the 3rd of August. We set sail from the bar at Salt at 8 o'clock, and proceeded with a strong breeze till sunset, 60 miles. Thursday, the 11th of October. So he's gone the entire month of August, the entire month of September. Now we're in early October. Steered west-southwest and encountered a heavier sea than we had met before in our entire voyage. Saw pardellas and a green rush near the vessel. These are kind of birds that you only see when there's land nearby. The crew of the Pinta saw a cane and a log. They picked up a stick, which appeared to have been carved with an iron tool, a piece of cane, a plant which grows on land, and a board. The crew of the Nina saw other things that signified we were close to land, and a stalk loaded with roseberries. These signs encouraged them. They all grew cheerful, sailed this day until sunset. After sunset, steered our original course west and sailed 12 miles an hour until 2 hours after midnight, 90 miles. The Pinta was the swiftest sailor and kept ahead of me and my boat, the Santa Maria. She discovered land and made the signals which had been ordered. The land was first seen by a sailor called Rodrigo de Triana, although the admiral at 10 o'clock, me, Columbus, standing on the quarterdeck, saw a light, but so small a body that I could not affirm that it was land. Calling to Pedro Gutierrez, the groom of the king's wardrobe, I told him that I saw a light, and bid him to look that way, which he did, and he saw it. He said the same to Rodrigo Sanchez of Segovia, whom the king and queen had sent as comptroller, basically like the head to make sure everything was going fine. He was unable to see it from his situation. I again perceived it once or twice, appearing like the light of a wax candle moving up and down. I held it for certain that land was near, for which reason, after they had said the salve which the seamen are accustomed to repeat and chant after their fashion, I directed them to keep a strict watch on the forecastle and look out diligently for land, and to whoever should discover it first, they would get a jacket made of silk, plus the reward that the king and queen had already offered. At 2 o'clock in the morning, the land was discovered at 2 leagues' distance. I'm going to skip just a little bit. The land that we discovered was called in the Indian language Guanahani. Presently, we saw people naked, and I landed in a boat which was armed. We brought weapons. These are strangers, after all. And we brought the initials of the names of the king and queen on each side of a cross and a crown on the flag that we brought on land. We arrived on shore. We saw trees and many streams of water and diverse sorts of fruit. I called upon my 2 captains and the rest of the crew who had landed, and also Rodrigo de Escovedo, the notary of the fleet, and Rodrigo Sanchez of Segovia, to bear witness that we take possession of that island for the king and queen of Spain, making all the public declarations. Numbers of people of the island straightway collected together. Here follow the precise words of Admiral Christopher Columbus. As I saw that they were very friendly to us, and perceived that they could be much more easily converted to our holy faith by gentle means than by force, I presented them with some red caps and strings of beads to wear upon the neck, and many other trifles of small value, wherewith they were much delighted, and became wonderfully attached to us. Afterwards they came swimming to our boats, bringing parrots, balls of cotton thread, javelins, and many other things which they exchanged for articles that we gave them, like glass beads, hawks' bells, and this trade carried on with the utmost goodwill. But they seemed, on the whole, to be a very poor people. They all go completely naked, even the women, although I saw only one of them. All whom I saw were young, not above 30 years of age, well made, with fine shapes and faces, their hair short and coarse, like that of a horse's tail, combed towards the forehead, except a small portion which they suffer to hang down behind, and they never cut. Some paint themselves with black, which makes them appear like those of the Canary Islands, neither black nor white, and others paint themselves with white, others with red, and others with whatever colors they find. Some paint the face, and some the whole body, others only the eyes, others the nose. Weapons? They have none, nor are acquainted with them. For I showed them swords, which they grabbed by the blades, and cut themselves through ignorance. They have no iron, their javelins being without it, and nothing more than sticks. although some have fish bones or other things at the ends to be sharp points. They're all of good size and stature and handsomely formed. I saw some with scars of wounds upon their bodies, and demanded by signs, and they answered me in some ways that there came people from the other islands in the neighborhood that they lived in, who wanted to make prisoners of them, and they defended themselves. I thought then, and still believe, that these were from the continent that I'm looking for, Asia. It appears to me that the people here are ingenious, and they would be good servants. I'm of the opinion that they would very readily become Christians, as they appear to have no religion already. They very quickly learn whatever words you speak to them. If it pleases your lordship, I intend at my return to carry home 6 of them to your highness, that they may learn our language. I saw no beasts in the island, nor any sort of animals except parrots. Saturday, 13th of October. At daybreak, great multitudes of men came to the shore, all young, of fine shapes, very handsome, their hair not curled, but straight and coarse like horsehair, and all with foreheads and beards much broader than any people I had hitherto seen. Their eyes were large and very beautiful. They were not black, but the color of the inhabitants of the Canary Islands, which is a very natural circumstance, they being in the same latitude with the islands of the Canaries. They are very straight-limbed, without exception, and not with prominent bellies, but handsomely shaped. They came to the ship in canoes made of a single trunk of a tree, carved in a wonderful manner, considering their country, some of them large enough to contain 40 or 45 men, others of different sizes down to those fitted to hold but a single person. They rowed with an oar like a baker's peel, and wonderfully swift. If they happen to be upset, if the canoe tips over or something, they all jump into the sea and swim till they have righted their canoe and emptied it with the calabashes they carry with them, probably like little cups that they can use to splash out water. They rode loaded with balls of cotton, parrots, javelins, and other things too numerous to mention. These they exchanged for whatever we chose to give them. I was very attentive to them, and strove to learn if they had any gold. Seeing some of them with little bits of this metal hanging at their noses, I gathered from them by signs that by going southward, or steering around the island in that direction, there could be found a king, who possessed large vessels of gold, and in great quantities. I endeavored to procure them to lead the way thither, but found that they were unacquainted with the specific route. I determined to stay here till evening of the next day, and then sail for the southwest. According to what I could learn from them, there was land at the south, as well as the southwest and northwest, and those from the northwest came many times, and fought with them and proceeded on to the southwest in search for gold and precious stones. This is a large and level island, with trees extremely flourishing, and streams of water. There's a large lake in the middle of the island, but no mountains. The whole is completely covered with green, and it's delightful to behold. The natives are an inoffensive people, nice, and so desirous to possess anything that they saw we had, they kept swimming off the ships with whatever they could find, and readily bartered for anything that we were willing to trade with them for. Like broken platters, fragments of glass. I saw in this manner 16 balls of cotton thread, which weighed 25 pounds, given for just 3 little Portuguese trinkets. This kind of trading I put an end to. I forbid this kind of trading. I suffered no one to take the natives' cotton from them, unless I should order that it go to your highnesses, your royal highnesses, if we could find enough quality to make you happy. It grows in this island, the cotton, but from my short stay here, I couldn't satisfy myself with fully being focused on it, because there's gold, the gold they wear in their noses. Not to lose time, I'm determined to proceed onward to find where the gold comes from. At night, all the natives went on shore with their canoe. Sunday, the 14th of October. In the morning, I ordered the boats to be got ready, and we coasted along the island towards the north-northeast to examine that part of it, we having landed first at the eastern part of the island. Presently, we discovered 2 or 3 villages, and the people all came down to the shore calling to us and giving thanks to God. Some brought us water, and others food. Others, seeing that I didn't really want to land there, they plunged into the sea and swam out to us. We perceived that they interrogated us as if we had come from heaven. So these Native Americans are really, really interested in the Spanish cruise and trying to find out what magical places they came from. An old man came aboard my boat. The others, both men and women, cried with loud voices, "Come and see the men who have come from the heavens. Bring them food and drink." Then came many natives of both sexes, everyone bringing something, giving thanks to God, laying themselves low on the earth, praying, and lifting up their hands to heaven. They called out to us loudly to come and land, but I didn't really want to on account of a reef of rocks that we saw that surrounds the whole island. And although there is depth of water and room sufficient for all of the ships in the Christian world to show up, there's a very narrow entrance. There are some shoals within, but the water is as smooth as a pond. It was to view these parts that I set out in the morning, for I wished to give a complete relation to your highnesses, and also to find where a fort might be built. I discovered a tongue of land which appeared like an island, although it was not, and might be cut through and made an island in just 2 days of work. It contained 6 houses. I do not, however, see the necessity of building forts in this place. The people here are simple in warlike matters. Your highnesses will see that by the 6 or 7 that I have ordered to be taken and carried to Spain in order to learn our language and then return, unless your highnesses should choose to have them all brought to Spain, or held captive here on the island for you. I could conquer the whole of them with just 50 men, and govern them however I pleased. Near the islet that I have mentioned were groves of trees, the most beautiful I've ever seen. The foliage here is as green as we ever get to see in Spain in April and May. There were many streams. After having taken a survey of these parts, I returned to the ship, and setting sail, I discovered such a number of islands that I really didn't know which to go to first. The natives that I had taken on board informed me by signs that there were so many islands that they couldn't even be numbered. They repeated the names of more than 100. I determined to steer towards the largest, which is about 5 leagues away from San Salvador. The others were at some point greater, and even some at a less distance than that island. They're all very level, without mountains, exceedingly fertile and populous, the inhabitants living at war with one another, although a simple race, and with delicate bodies. 15th of October. We stood off and on during the night, determining not to drop our anchors until morning, fearing that we would meet with shoals of rocks. We continued our course in the morning, and as the island was found to be 6 or 7 leagues away, and the tide was against us, it was noon before we even got there. I found that part of the island towards San Salvador extending north to south 5 leagues. The other side, which we coasted along, ran east to west more than 10 leagues. From this island, spying an even larger one to the west, I set sail in that direction and kept on until night without reaching the western end of that island, where I gave it the name Santa Maria de la Concepcion, Saint Mary of the Holy Conception of the Virgin, the baby Jesus. At about sunset we anchored near the cape, which ends the island towards the west, and we inquired for gold. The natives that we had taken from San Salvador told me that the people here wore golden bracelets on their arms and their legs. I believed pretty confidently that they had invented this story in order to find means to escape from us. But still I determined to pass none of these islands without taking possession, because being once taken, the island would stay ours for all time. We anchored and remained until Tuesday, when at daybreak I went ashore with boats armed. The people we found were naked, like those on San Salvador, and of the same disposition. They allowed us to go up and down the island. They gave us what we asked for. As the wind blew southeast upon the shores where the vessels lay, I determined not to stay there, and set out for the ship. A large canoe was near the caravel, the Nina. One of the San Salvador natives leapt overboard and swam to our ship. Another had made his escape the night before. The canoe being reached by the fugitive, the natives rowed for the land too swiftly to be overtaken. So what's happened here is that some of the natives that were on board the Spanish ship were deciding to leave. So they jumped off the Spanish ship, and they saw a canoe nearby, so they jumped on the canoe. Another was a single man in a canoe who came to trade with us some cotton. Our sailors found him unwilling to go on board our vessel, and jumped into the sea, and grabbed him and brought him on board. I was upon the deck of my ship, and seeing all this, I sent for the man, gave him a red cap, put some glass beads on his arms and 2 hawk's bells on his ears, and ordered his canoe to be returned to him, and set him free. I now set sail for the other large island to the west, and I gave orders for the canoe which the Nina had in tow to be set adrift. I had refused to receive the cotton from the native man that I had sent on shore, although he really, really wanted to give it to me. I looked out after him and saw him landing, so that all of the other natives went to meet him with much wonder. It appeared to them that we were honest people, and that the man who had escaped from us must have done us some injury for us to want to capture him. It was in order to favor this idea, so that the natives would like us, that I ordered the canoe to be cut free and gave the man the presents, so that when your highnesses send another expedition here in the future, the Spaniards like us will have a good reputation. People will think we're fair and honest. All that I gave the man wasn't really worth 4 maravedis. Not quite sure what that is myself. I apologize. Probably not that much. We set sail at about 10 o'clock with the wind southeast, and we stood southerly for the island that I had mentioned above, which is a very large one, and where, according to the account of the natives on board, there is much gold. The inhabitants wear it on bracelets upon their arms, legs, necks, as well as other parts like ears and noses. This island is 9 leagues away from Santa Maria in a westerly direction. This part of it goes northwest to southeast and appears to be 28 leagues long, very level, without any mountains like San Salvador and Santa Maria, having a good shore and not rocky, except a few ledges underwater. I'm going to skip a little here that's really not important. I decided not to stay here, but visit other islands in search of gold, considering the indications of it among the natives who wear it on their arms and legs, and having ascertained that it is the true metal by showing them some pieces of it which I have with me, I cannot fail to find the place which produces it. Being at sea, midway between Santa Maria and the large island, which I named Fernandina, we met a man in a canoe going from Santa Maria to Fernandina. He had with him a piece of the bread which the natives make, as big as your fist. He had a large canteen of water, a quantity of reddish earth, pulverized and afterwards kneaded up, and some dried leaves, which are in high value among the natives. He had little besides a basket made in their style, the native style, containing glass beads, and 2 blancas. I knew he had come from Salvador, and had passed from thence to Santa Maria. He came to our ship, and I got him on board. He requested that we take him on board. We took his canoe also on board, and took good care of his things. I ordered him to be given bread and honey and drink, and that we shall carry him to Fernandina, and give him back his property then, that he may carry a good report of the fact that we are nice people, so that when it pleases your lord, to send more Spaniards to these regions, those who get here will be treated with honor and dignity, because the Spaniards who came before gave them a good reputation. Tuesday, the 16th of October, we set sail from Santa Maria at about noon for Fernandina, which appeared very large in the west. We sailed all day and could not arrive soon enough to view the shore and get a good anchorage. Great care must be taken, lest the anchors be lost. Beat up and down all night, and in the morning arrived at the village, and we anchored. This was a place to which the man who we had picked up at sea had gone. So we set him ashore. He had given such a favorable report of who we were to his fellow natives that all night there were great numbers of canoes sailing up to our ship. They brought us water and other things. I ordered each person, each native man, to be given something: strings of 10 or a dozen glass beads, thongs of leather, all of which they thought highly of. Those people who came on board, I directed them that they should be fed with molasses. At 3 o'clock, I sent the boat on shore for water. The natives, with great good, will direct the men to where to find it. They assisted them in carrying the casks full of water to the boat, and it seemed to be a great pleasure to them to serve us. This is a very large island. I have resolved to coast around it to look for that mine of gold. It's 8 leagues west of Santa Maria and the cape where we have arrived. All this coast extends from north-northwest to south-southeast. I've seen 20 leagues of it, but not to the end. Now, writing this, I set sail with a southerly wind to circumnavigate the island and search till we find Samoet, which is the island or the city where the gold is, according to the account of the natives who came on board our ship, to which the relation of those of San Salvador and Santa Maria corresponds. These people are similar to those of the islands that I've just mentioned. They have the same language and customs, with the exception that they appear somewhat more civilized, showing themselves more subtle in their dealings with us, bartering their cotton and other articles with more profit than the others had experienced. Here we saw cotton cloth, and perceived the people more decent, the women wearing a slight covering of cotton over the nudities. The island is green, level, and fertile to a high degree. I doubt not that grain is sowed here, and reaped the entire year round, as well as other productions on this place. I saw many trees, very dissimilar to those in Spain, and many of them had branches of different sorts upon the same trunk, and such a diversity was among them that it was the greatest wonder in the world to behold. Thus, for instance, one branch of a tree bore leaves that were that of a cane, and another branch of the same tree leaves similar to those of a lentisk. In this manner, a single tree bears 5 or 6 different kinds. Nor is this done by grafting, more a work of art, whereas these trees grow wild. The natives take no care of the trees. They're just natural. They have no religion, and I believe that they would very readily become Christian. They have a good understanding. Here, the fish are so dissimilar to ours that it's wonderful. Some are shaped like dories of the finest hues in the world, blue, yellow, red, and every other color. Some variegated with 1,000 different tints, so beautiful that no one beholding them could fail to express the highest wonder and admiration. There are also whales. Beasts we saw none, nor any creatures on land except for parrots and lizards, but a boy told me how he saw a large snake. No sheep nor goats were seen, although our stay here has been short. It's being now noon. Yet, if there were any, we would hardly have failed to see them by now. The circumnavigation of the island I shall describe afterwards. So this video's gone on for almost half an hour now. I'll cut it short. We have a little bit more of his diary to go through and then a couple more documents. So take care. Have a great day. And, just to let you know, we've developed a little bit of a fan base. Here at Curry's World History, We're being viewed by some of my former students who moved out of Maine, and also by a dear friend in Kansas. So, welcome everybody. It's so lovely to have you with us. See ya.